Hello and welcome back to my channel. This video will be covering 3 of the classes and their respective subclasses in Arknights. This video might be a little dry, but the more knowledge you have, the better you will become as an Arknights player. An operator's class refers to one of the 8 classes in Arknights: caster, defender, guard, medic, sniper, specialist, supporter and vanguard. An operator's class determines where the operator can be deployed: on ground tiled or on elevated tiles, or both. It also determines the operator's main attack type: physical damage, arts damage, or healing, though there are a few archetypes that are exceptions. An operator's archetype is a subclass of sorts. It determines the operator's attack range as well as traits. There are a lot more subclasses than classes, so do stick around to learn about them. Class number 1. Casters. Casters deal large amounts of arts damage to their enemies. They are your main arts damage source. They can only be deployed on alleviated tiles and usually has a high deployment cost. Under the caster category, we have 5 subclasses, or better known as archetypes. Archetype number 1. Single target casters, or ST casters for short. Just as the name suggests, these casters only targets one enemy at a time with their basic attacks. They have a range of 2x3 tiles at the front of the operator, an additional 2 tiles at the side of the operator and an extra 1 tile in front at an Elite 1 promotion. They have an attack interval of 1.6 seconds. They have an average attack interval and attack range. Archetype number 2. AoE casters. These casters attacks all the enemies clustered together within the operator's range with their basic attack. They have a range of 2x3 tiles in front of the operator as well as 2 additional tiles beside the operator at Elite 1. They have an attack interval of 2.9 seconds. AoE casters have a short range, a long attack interval and has an extremely high deployment cost. Archetype number 3. Blast casters. The current operator from this archetype in the EN server is Ifrit. Blast casters attacks all the enemies in its range. They have an attack interval of 2.9 seconds and an attack range of... what the heck? But don't let this weird range scare you off. Ifrit is a top-tier operator despite having this range, and if deployed at a right lane, everyone on it suffers huge amounts of arts damage. Blast casters have a long attack interval, extremely high deployment cost and a long range. Archetype number 4. Chain casters. Chain caster is probably the worst caster archetype in the caster class due to their trait. The trait of chain casters is that their attacks will jump to 4 other enemies at Elite 2, but each jump receives a debuff of 25% damage. This means that when there are 3 enemies in the chain caster's range, the first target receives 100% of damage and the attack will jump to the second enemy, but only dealing 75% of damage, and by the time the attack reaches the third enemy, the damage dealt to the third enemy is only 50%. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks so much that the developers are buffing the trait so that the damage reduction is reduced, but even then, chain casters are still extremely niche. They have an attack interval of 2.3 seconds and an attack range of an ordinary ST caster. Chain casters have a faster attack speed than AoE casters but slower than ST casters. Archetype number 5. Model casters, the interesting one. Model casters have a unique trait where they do not do basic attacks at all. Instead, they will only attack the enemies when their skills are active. But as a trade-off, they have greatly increased defense and resistance when they are not attacking. This makes them an amazing tank against ranged enemies such as drones. They have an attack interval of 2 seconds and an attack range that looks like this. That is all for the caster class. The next class is defenders. Defenders specialize in blocking and increasing survivability of your other operators. They usually deal physical damage and can only be deployed on ground tiles. There are 4 archetypes in the defender class. Archetype number 1. Normal defender. The trait of this class is the ability to block 3 enemies. They have a short attack interval of 1.2 seconds and their attack range varies. They have a medium deployment cost of about 24, and some normal defenders have even lesser deployment costs. Normal defenders also deals single target physical damage only and usually has 0 arts resistance. Archetype number 2. Healing defenders. These defenders can not only block 3 enemies but also heal surrounding allies using their skills. They deal single-target physical damage, but has lower attack and defense than normal defenders, but comes with a small resistance to arts damage. They have medium deployment cost of 22. They have a short range of only 1 tile, which is the tile the operator is deployed on. Archetype number 3. Enmity Defenders. The trait is that these defenders cannot be healed by other operators and instead, heal themselves from their skills or talents. They deal single-target physical damage and have an attack interval of 1.6 seconds. Enmity Defenders have the same range as healing defenders and have an extremely high DP cost, more than casters at Elite 2. Archetype number 4. Arts DPS Defender. Their trait is that normal attacks deal arts damage when skill is active. They will deal physical damage and switch to dealing arts damage when skill is active. They have an attack interval of 1.6 seconds and a medium DP cost of about 24. They are perfect for handling lanes where both medium defense and resistance enemies are coming from, but as a trade-off, they have lower survivability compared to all the other defenders. That is all for the Defender class. Next we have the Guard class. There are 8 archetypes in this class. Guard specializes in dealing high amounts of physical damage, and some of them can even switch from dealing physical damage to dealing arts damage, similar to an arts defender. Archetype number 1. AoE Guards. Their trait allows them to attack all their enemies simultaneously, but the number of enemies they can attack simultaneously varies according to their block count. At Elite 2, their block count shoots up to 3, which is the only archetype aside from the Defender class that can block 3 enemies. Their DPS potential skyrockets the more enemies are blocked by them, making them a great defender as well as damage dealer. But do note that a 3 block count also means more melee enemies dealing damage to the AoE guard, and without a constant source of healing, your AoE guard will get wrecked rather easily. They have an attack range of 1 additional tile in front of the operator and have a DP cost of around 24 at Elite 2. Archetype number 2. Duelist Guards. The trait is that this guard can only block 1 enemy. They deal single-target physical damage and has an attack interval of 1.5 seconds. They have a high attack stat but low defense, so they are typically used as helidrop units. Their attack range is the same as an AoE guard and has a low DP cost of 19 at Elite 2. Archetype number 3. Ranged Guards. These guards can do ranged attacks that deal 80% of normal attack damage. They deal single-target physical damage to enemies and has an average attack interval of 1.3 seconds. They can also hit aerial units such as drones. Their range looks like this. Ranged guards are very versatile with their playstyle. You can choose to put a defender in front of them and they can still deal 80% range damage, or you can use them as a frontliner to dish out the full 100% melee damage. They have good and balanced stats and a medium DP cost of around 20. Archetype number 4. Support Guard. Their trait allows them to attack enemies from a short range. Not the best archetype to be in. They have a short attack interval of 1.06 seconds and an attack range of 2 additional tiles in front of the operator. These operators decreases their own combat power to increase other operators' power. Despite having an extended range, they cannot target aerial units. They have a medium DP cost of 16. Archetype number 5. Dual Strike Guard. Their trait allows them to attack enemies twice with their normal attacks. Their attack range is the same as an AoE guard and they have an average attack interval of 1.3 seconds. Their attack stat is lower to compensate for their trait of attacking twice and has a medium DP cost of 21. Archetype number 6. Brawler Guard. They can only block 1 enemy, but has a super low attack interval of only 0.78 seconds. To compensate for their fast attack speed, they have lowered attack stats and are extremely good at holding a lane. Their range is the same as an AoE guard and has a low DP cost of around 10. Archetype number 7. Arts Guard. Their trait enables them to deal arts damage with their basic attacks. They have a relatively low attack interval of 1.25 seconds and has the same attack range as an AoE guard. However, they have only 1 block count, so they are mainly used to hold off 1 lane. they also have abilities that help them with survivability. Archetype number 8. Enmity Guard. Similar to an Enmity Defender, they cannot be healed by other operators and they have a relatively low attack interval of 1.2 seconds. Their attack range is the same as an AoE guard and they are usually equipped with abilities that help with survivability. They are solo units that can be deployed anywhere to hold off enemies. However, they only have one block count. Their DP cost is high at around 26 at Elite 2. And that is all for the Guard class. If you made it this far, well done. We will be looking at supporters, medics and snipers in the next video, so please subscribe to my channel and leave a like for this video. This topic is extremely dry but important, so please bear with it for 2 more videos. See you.